I'm Diana McCallum.
I'm Andrew Ivimey.
And this is Fan vs. Fan for Jessica Jones, Part 2, Episodes 8 to 13.
What if there was someone else out there? But his ability was to make people do whatever he wanted.
You like mind control?
You have no idea. Kilgrave leaves a trail of broken people behind him.
You made me jump for hours as high as I could. He said I was never as good as you.
Alright, so before we get into it, first of all, this is for episodes 8 to 13 of Jessica Jones. If you haven't seen our Part 1 review of Jessica Jones, be sure to click the link below to check out episodes 1 to 7. And if you haven't watched the entirety of this show, go do it now. We'll wait. It's done. Good work. Alright, so let's get right into it and recap a little bit. So first of all, we're coming back now to episodes 8 to 13. We're starting off with Jessica now living with Kilgrave. We're seeing Officer Simpson get addicted to some super drugs. You know, we're seeing Trish's, we're seeing Patsy's mom come back. Seeing a little bit of that. And the inevitable death and fall of Kilgrave. So let's talk a little bit about expectations, because we did have a lot of hopes when we watched episodes 1 to 7. A lot of expectations to come out of what was going to be to follow. How do you feel about what came? What did you expect?
I expected, well, this is the thing, I didn't know what I expected because I thought it was too many episodes. I was like, I don't think there's 6 more episodes of this story.
Okay.
And they found 6 more episodes of story. It wasn't like, episodes just ended at weird times. But, yeah, it wasn't very fulfilling to me. I did not feel fulfilled by this show. I mean, I liked it overall. I'm not saying it was bad, but I don't feel like the back 6 was as good as the earlier 7 or lived up to the expectations that were being built.
I'll agree with that as well. I feel like when I finished episodes 1 to 7, the expectations were very high. I did have some complaints about episodes 1 to 7, but it was, for the most part, a very positive experience watching those episodes. Yeah. And positive in terms of viewing, not in terms of content. That's some dark, negative stuff. But it did have a great pilot episode. It launched hard and strong, and I was very much drawn into this world, and it set up very high expectations for me. I don't know if that's on me, that it was impossible to fulfill, but I do feel like I was let down a little bit by the back 6.
I do too, especially because our complaint was that these B and C storylines weren't very compelling. And then, like, as soon as they all got compelling, they all got dropped off out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I think was the big problem. And yeah, it just was... It was like, it stayed dark, but there were less shock moments. I mean, I think you get just a little less shocked by his powers over time.
True,
so you kind of start to expect them, so maybe that's just on us as viewers.
That's definitely an expectation issue, and I think that's going to start bleeding into some of our cons. But before we rail in a little too hard, let's talk pros. So what do we like about the tail end of this show? What are your pros, Diana?
My pros are really everything involving Purple Man. Not just... Okay, so I really like David Tennant's performance, but he's great in everything, and he was great in the first 6. But, like, when he's in the cage with his parents, and he's trying to, like, manipulate everyone, but and then he's also just, like, so emotional because he wasn't expecting his parents to show up.
Yeah.
I really felt David Tennant's acting was amazing. But what I did really like in these back 6 episodes with Purple Man is that they gave him a new plot. Other than just, I want Jessica to love me, they gave him, he was trying to get his powers stronger to take over kind of an entire city. I'm like, okay, this is a plot that someone has to stop. Right. Because there was nothing to really stop him from doing before. He was just living his life, and he was a jerk.
Yeah, he was a jerk just going about daily life, though, for the most part. Whereas
in a terrible way.
This was a great escalation of him.
Yes, he needed a plot, which is my complaint about Daredevil, was that Kingpin's plot was very weird and convoluted, like I'm going to buy buildings. Right. So with Purple Man saying, no, I want my powers to be stronger, I'll control everyone. I thought, okay, that's a nice, solid, stoppable plan.
Simple, clean, we understand the goal, the motivation, and yeah, I was with it the whole time. Yeah, and I agree with you. That's actually probably one of the pros for me was the performance of Tennant and the escalation of that character. So between building Jessica's childhood home, losing the ability to control Jessica, living with her, trying to convince her of her own free will, the addition of the parents, the dynamic of the torturous childhood that he didn't have kind of thing. It was a very complicated issue, and it added a lot more attention to his character, and it gave him somewhere to go and progress. I want you to choose. I'm dealing with my parents. I need to escalate my powers. I'm not going to win this fight of making you choose me. So yeah, it was a great place for his character to go.
Definitely, because in the first 7, I didn't know where he was going to go. It didn't seem very clear to me.
Right.
And then there was that really great episode right off the bat where you're like, can he become a hero? When Jessica's, like, guiding him, and you're like, you think that's going to be the show for a couple episodes, and it wasn't, which is fine, because he's very dangerous.
I would have liked that to be the show for a couple episodes.
It was an interesting take.
For as much as I hated the man, I'm like, you two actually do make a really good team. Like, that is a real powerhouse, unstoppable force of crime solving right there.
Just a mind controller and a woman with super strength, nothing is getting through there.
Yeah,
that was pretty great. When Tennant, like, when he saves the woman who's being held hostage and she says thank you, I'm like, oh, maybe this is gonna, like, show him that it's better to be thanked. And it didn't. But it was still a fun episode.
Well, it was
things got dark.
Yeah, and it was a great. These back 6 episodes, it was a great turn for him as well, because talking about the development of his character, the first 7 episodes, it was very much of the unknown fear of his presence in Jessica's life. It was a fantastic villain, and we got touches and tastes of him as a villain, but it was the villain story as told through Jessica, that unknown terror that's always omnipresent. But now we're getting that turn of it's the terror that is present, and here is his take on this world, and I really liked that switch.
Yeah, it was real interesting.
Yeah, anything else? Was there anything else that you loved about this?
I love Luke coming back. Yeah. I think Luke's great. I did not expect it. I thought he was gone. We're just only going to see him in his show next.
Right.
But then he did come back very abruptly.
Yeah.
That was weird how abruptly he was just brought back into the story. Just like, I found out you have a boyfriend, I'm going to blow him up.
Right.
But it was great to have him back, I think.
But it was Kilgrave's final play.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, not just the fight, though, but just like when he's in the bar and he's getting blown up. And he didn't know about him. Like, Luke was just like going to go punch him in the face was his plan, which would have killed him. Which would have been pretty quick.
Yeah.
It would have been a cool story.
Would have been done.
And then, if Kilgrave was just killed by Luke, like, off-screen somewhere.
Now, and one thing I will say, too, that was a big pro for me, that fight scene between Jessica and Luke, was phenomenal. That was very well choreographed. It was incredibly well shot. And then on top of that, just finding the reveal that Luke has been under control was also a great tension to add to the fight scene. That little bit of, like, heartache and betrayal, and just an even further extension of the perversion and uncomfort that Purple Man brings to her life. So just a new added element of the perversion and uncomfort with a very personal experience and the betrayal, and then also an emotional match and a physical match as well for Jessica. It was very well set up, and it was an incredible fight scene.
Yeah, you mentioned the perversion, which did really get to me, because earlier in that episode, I really believed he wasn't controlled anymore, especially when he was like, I'll agree to go away when Kilgrave shows up and everything. And he forgave Jessica for killing his wife, and I thought that scene was beautiful, and it really affected me. So later, when Kilgrave was like, those were my words, it really gut-punched me. I was like, oh, you didn't get the forgiveness necessarily? Like, she might have.
And I think the strength of that is exactly that fact, that it wasn't just a removal of an emotional moment for Jessica. That was an emotional moment for us as an audience that was pulled away from us. So that definitely added a little bit of extra punch to that, where like the perversion and uncomfort of his character came through the screen and affected us as a viewer, and not just us as our interpretation of Jessica. So that really hurt.
Yeah, that was a great Kilgrave play. It was a great hit on the audience. I think, all the Luke stuff worked, all the Kilgrave stuff worked, all the Jessica stuff worked.
And it was great to see just a proper fight finally play out for Jessica. Because we hadn't seen a lot of that. You just get a little touch and go, but not much. So it was nice to see the full extent of the powers.
Especially with her fighting someone more powerful than her. Luke is much stronger and more invincible than her. She's very vincible, if that's a word.
I don't know if it's a word, but she's that.
She's that. She gets hurt a lot. And she also just been hit by a truck like a day earlier.
Yeah,
she's not doing great.
So the fact that she won, I was like, yeah, Jessica, took him out.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Real
was
proud
excellent.
of you.
Yeah, and a great emotional end to that fight as well.
With him like just stopping for just a second, telling her to shoot her.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That was powerful.
Good stuff.
All right, so that's what we liked about the show, but what didn't we like? Let's get into cons.
All right, we covered what we like. Now we're going to go into cons. Andrew, what didn't we like?
There was a lot that I didn't like. I think I think the biggest thing that really frustrated me for this show was how pretty much all of the plot lines ended. Very abrupt, very sudden, just an incredible just shutdown of like, and now forget that was happening.
The interesting ones and the boring ones.
All of it. Because I feel like even the predominant A storyline of Jessica and Purple Man ended very abruptly, and it progressed in a weird way. I commented in our part 1 review how Jessica wasn't killing Purple Man because it's supposed to be for a care for Hope. Mm-hmm. That she's just trying to take care of Hope. And I complained that I didn't really feel that as a viewer. I didn't feel the connection between those two or why that is so important to Jessica. And for that plot line to end with Hope being like, you were using me as a loose plot line? Murder, murder, murder. I'm like, she wrote herself out, and that really draws attention to the fact of that this didn't work to begin with.
Yeah, it wasn't a good enough motivation if even the person you're trying to save is like, no, you should have killed him forever ago.
You should have talked to me about this, about using me as a loose plot line. And then for that then to be the escalation of like, well, now we kill Kilgrave. And we did it. And we only just now thought of headphones. It seemed very fast and abrupt and uncomfortable. And what kind of a plan was that? With Trish going in, with the headphones and being like, "I'm not Jessica," and it's like, okay, well, what do we do now? Oh, Jessica's like right there.
She's
like,
further behind.
She's further away. She's still at the door. She made it no further into the room with this plot.
It was kind of just like, let's try to get Trish killed, maybe.
Yeah,
and also I'll be there in the back.
It was so fast and abrupt, these endings, that it really draws attention to the flaws that came prior. And I'm very much a viewer like that if the ending doesn't please me, it invalidates what came prior.
That's totally, I totally agree. And I want to name some of these in case people don't get what we're saying.
Throw them down.
Like, Will just disappears. Will got really interesting, and then he got knocked out, and the government took him away, and Jessica and Trish never are like, what happened to Will? Should we save him since those drugs screwed him up?
Yeah.
Doesn't get mentioned.
Yeah.
The vaccine totally just dropped.
Yeah.
The divorce storyline, well, it ended, but...
But again, just randomly. What the hell was Pam even doing showing up at Hogarth's ex-wife's house? I'm so annoyed. Hogarth and the ex-wife whose name escapes me. Wendy. Hogarth and Wendy having that fight, 1,000 cuts, and then Pam shows up, and the next episode they give the flimsy excuse where Pam's just like, I hadn't heard from you in a while. And so you just showed up at her ex-wife's house? What is going on here? Why was Pam a weird plot device that just came into the room? No call, no help me, no emergency, no familiar location. It was just like, hey, I'm Pam.
Why would Pam even know
Go
what
home,
that
Pam.
is?
You know, like, what is happening there?
I totally agree. What else was dropped? Oh, the mom thing came out of nowhere. It was dropped real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so many storylines. And, like,
Luke.
I feel...
Luke's just gone.
Yeah,
Luke and Night Nurse. We need to get into that, too.
Yeah, well, Luke especially is weird for me because he just leaves, and him and Jessica never get to have a talk to be like, what was you and what was Purple Man?
Yeah.
Like, did you actually forgive me? Like, she must have no idea, and neither do I as a viewer.
Yeah. And no one seems to care. Like, that bothered me about the Simpsons storyline and the Luke storyline. It was just the fact that Jessica's come home and be like, oh, well, I guess that solved itself. Let's not ask any follow-up questions.
It's not like I'm a private detective.
And even from a self-contained aspect, Simpson did not have any kind of progression to realize I shouldn't have fought Jessica, I have a problem, I've become a monster, I need to get off this, or to go even further over to the deep end, to be like, I don't care, I'm aware of what I'm doing, Jessica, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill everybody. There was no closure even within Officer Simpson as Nuke alone, and then there was no closure with the Jessica storyline. Same thing with Luke. Luke just was gone when she got home. We didn't see the closure from Luke's side, and we didn't see the closure from Jessica's side as well, and that was bothersome.
No, I totally agree. And then there's even just like that weird moment where where Trish takes one of the pills, and like that doesn't go anywhere. I was like, is she going to be addicted to the pills now? She has a whole bottle of them, and is she going to use them to fight Kilgrave? Like, nothing. Nobody got, and like Nuke was just getting really interesting. Like I really wanted to know where that was going to go. If he was going to pill up or if he was going to get clean.
And the Robin storyline.
Okay, that was my con. My con was that every storyline got cut except for Robin's, which just kept going.
There was no need for any of that.
Oh my god, there were so many scenes with her and Malcolm dealing with grief, and which is like an okay thing to have when you're not the most annoying character of all time.
Yeah, and I just didn't care about her. Didn't care about her. She
just screwed everything up when she and who shows up at someone's support meetings and just like bombs a support meeting? Who does that?
She party crashed a support meeting.
It's not a thing you do, Robin. And you're giving all Robins a bad name, and I love Robin.
And the iPhone charger funeral.
Ugh.
Terrible.
Ugh.
Terrible. And just incredibly needless. It was weird. It was weird that they tried to weave that into the A storyline when I couldn't care less. I thought that we'd finished that. It was done. It was over with. Let's move on. That was terrible. And let's get back to the vaccination thing. Let's create a vaccine. And then it was just it was a mist.
It was a mist.
It was a cologne.
He misted himself.
And
That's not how any vaccine has ever worked.
And then he missed it, and then he goes in and he's like, I guess that didn't work out at all. You mean those 3 episodes in the apartment where we're trying to create a vaccine just didn't go in? Just a complete false start of being like, we need to build a vaccine. 3 episodes of like the equipment, the gear, the hotel, Simpson showing up, fighting Simpson off, and that whole dynamic, and then it's just spray. Nah, didn't do it. Weird endings.
That is one thing this show does, is that they spend a lot of time, which is more like real life time, on things. Like, there was like an entire episode of checking things out at the morgue.
Yeah.
Where they learned almost nothing.
The morgue thing went nowhere.
The morgue thing.
That was a waste of 10 minutes.
The trucks hitting people thing also went nowhere, which is a weird thing. They mentioned twice in one episode that trucks were hitting people randomly, and it wasn't connected to Kilgrave as far as we know.
It was a weird thing to emphasize as well, because they very much made the cars aren't even stopping. There's no brakes. It's weird. This person died on impact. That never happened.
And then Jessica gets hit.
And she's...
And then it wasn't related to anything.
Nothing.
It was just someone writing the script that day was like, I like car crashes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's all it was.
Yeah, the car crashes, the morgue, just nowhere.
Yeah, just so many loose plot lines. And yes, in getting back, we've said this already, but it shouldn't take you 13 episodes to think of noise-canceling headphones.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Why weren't you, everyone on the team, wearing those for all the time?
Yeah. Yeah, it was 13 episodes of... It really makes me disappointed to see this ending. And to not have a cameo. Like, to not have... I mean, we had Night Nurse, but why was there not a touch of Daredevil? Why was there not a touch of, give me something. Give me something.
But, not even that Daredevil has to show up. I mean, we thought
Daredevil has to show up to me.
That's fair. I mean, at least Matt Murdock. I can't believe Matt Murdock wasn't her lawyer at the end when she was, on the line for murder.
And we've had opportunity after opportunity for a Daredevil cameo. Pam needed an attorney because she dropped Hogarth. Jessica needed an attorney when she needed to go to Supermax. There were so many opportunities there to be like, no, we need a new attorney to come in. Let's get Matt Murdock. I can't believe it didn't happen.
They never got Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
They never got him. It was very sad.
Yeah, some disappointing lack of closure from the end of the show. And I feel bad because, for me, a little bit, it invalidates a lot of the good stuff that came prior.
Yeah, I said this about Daredevil, and I think I'm going to say it about Jessica Jones. Each episode on its own kind of feels fine if you're just watching one episode.
Right.
But then when you analyze it as a whole, it really doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
When you're like, what was the plot? What happened to this person? What was their arc? And they didn't have one.
I flat out feel like it should have been a network show. I feel like this would be a better show if you watched 1 hour a week than if you binge watched it all in one go. The flaws become far more apparent. And I feel like if we watched it week to week, it would be a little bit more exciting. Flaws would be a little bit less apparent, and the tension would be a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was the con section. So let's get into Easter eggs. So what Easter eggs did you find in the last 6 episodes of Jessica Jones?
All right, well, this first one is, he was there the whole time, and if you Google him, you'll know who he is, but I don't think he's famous enough that I'll count him as an Easter egg. So Frank Simpson, which was Will Simpson in the show, is a character named Nuke. He was actually introduced in Daredevil by Frank Miller, and he played a really big part in Old Man Logan, that old storyline with Wolverine. Wolverine Origins.
Wolverine Origins. There we go.
So he is a Vietnam veteran. He got kind of a super soldier program stuff with those pills. The pills are what... He uses the pills in the comics, he uses the pills in the show. Yep. Same colors. He has 2 hearts in the comics, which is what the pills kind of are for.
2 hearts, eh?
2 hearts. But the red ones still make him all hyped up. The blue and white ones bring him down. Okay. And let him live. But he's also quite noticeable in the comics because he has a giant American flag tattoo on his face. The closest,
that character. Yes.
The closest we saw to that was he had an American flag lighter in the show. So... a big face tattoo would be a little
much for the TV show. An American flag face tattoo. That would be an escalate. What pill makes you want to get an American flag face tattoo? Red makes me angry. White brings me down. Blue, I just get face tattoos.
Maybe it's not even the flag. Maybe he's like, this looks like my pills. Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's it. He was just getting a tattoo with pills on his face. Yeah.
So he's a comic book character. He's really crazy. He didn't get quite as crazy in the show as he does in the comic books, but and I'm sad that we didn't get a resolution because his story cut off so abruptly. But I didn't feel like it was to use him again. I don't feel like he's going to be on Luke Cage or Iron Fist.
He's going to. I feel like he is. Yeah. Why else would we have that kind of disappear in the middle of the night, taken away by agents, get him back into the program? I feel like it might not be Luke Cage. It might not be Daredevil Season 2. Maybe it'll be Jessica Jones Season 2. I think more than likely it'll be Daredevil Season 2. But I think we're going to see him again. Okay. I'm sad we didn't get a little bit more closure for his character, but I do think that they're seeding him for future use.
I will say Nuke had my absolute favorite moment in the last 6 episodes, and it's when he's at Trisha's door, and the guys show up to take him back to the program. He takes 2 red pills. 2 of them. And then he shoots the guys in the head. Yeah. The red pills are so you don't feel pain and you can fight like a maniac.
Yeah.
And he decided, red pills, boom, boom.
Two red pills to shoot a gun. He is an officer and a military veteran. He apparently can't shoot a gun without 2 red pills. He did such just a this is a non-fight resolution.
It was very Indiana Jones shooting the whip guy.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just this big showdown.
Less fun because a guy takes 2 red fighting pills. You're like, we're gonna get a fight.
It is going down. And then he's like, oh yeah, I own a gun. Pop, pop.
They were memory pills.
Now they were good shots. It was a good shot. You got to give him that. But
sure.
Yeah.
But I bet he also would have fought them real good with 2 red pills in his system.
Probably would have fought them real good too.
It seems like taking a shot of ecstasy and then going to bed. That's not what you do. You don't pop 2 red pills and you're like, no fight for me.
Right.
No thanks.
Right. I'm gonna sit this one out.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, I get that.
One of my favorite moments.
Okay.
All right. So other Easter eggs, a little bit less noticeable, a little bit more subtle. At the very last episode, when Purple Man's trying to escape, the yacht he's going on is called the Goldfish.
Okay.
Goldfish is another graphic novel by Brian Michael Bendis, who created Jessica Jones.
Ah, okay.
So this was a nice little nod to Brian Michael Bendis' work.
Very nice.
Maybe check out Goldfish if you like Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
And then one other one, which was a really weird one. I don't even know if it was an Easter egg or just stolen writing. In episode 11, Jessica says, "What doesn't kill you makes you stranger," which is a line by the Joker in the Dark Knight movie.
Right. Which
is a pretty memorable one. Things Joker say are...
It's kind of embedded in your brain. It's that's how I hear that sentence now. It was a little bit jarring to hear that.
But as Jessica Jones is Marvel and Dark Knight is DC, I was like, I don't understand this
why
Easter egg.
This was used
what
at
it
all.
was for.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe the writer didn't know where it came from when they wrote it in their subconscious didn't tell them where it was from when they wrote it. If it was accidentally an Easter egg.
Right. And now, do you think as well, again, along the Nuke line, not quite an Easter egg, but do you think that they're planting Hellcat for future use? Patsy, Trisha, do you think that they're because we get her taking the pill, even though she's come down from it a little bit. So I'm wondering if we're going to see more of her in the future.
And I don't know how they're going to mix a lot of these characters together in the future things. So Jerry Hogarth is actually based on Jaren Hogarth, who is a man in the comics, but also Iron Fist lawyer. He's pretty much solely an Iron Fist character. Yeah. So I don't know if when we get Iron Fist, if Jerry is going to be his lawyer, but Jerry is also very different than Jaren. Like,
Yeah,
Jaren is just a nice guy.
Real good guy
who's like, Danny, can we not give all that money to the Avengers? And Danny's like, we're going to give all that money to the Avengers. And Jaren's like, okay.
Yeah.
But Jerry would very much be like, no money for the Avengers.
Right, burn the Avengers to the ground.
Yeah.
More money for me.
Yeah, Jerry is
She was happier to kill her ex-wife than to pay alimony. So
Yeah.
very different from the comic book version.
Not the charitable lawyer we've seen in the Iron Fist stories.
Certainly not.
So I don't know how that's going to play out with her character going into Iron Fist once his show comes along. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how they fit all these pieces together. With Nuke being a Daredevil villain who got introduced on Jessica Jones instead.
Yeah.
It's going to be a mishmash of a world, and we got to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it though.
I'm excited too.
All right, well, that's been our recap of Marvel's Jessica Jones. If you missed part 1 of this, be sure to click here, check out part 1, be sure to check out all of the details, see our earlier opinions that might have been a little bit more optimistic about how this was going to play out. Yeah.
And you can also follow Dorkshelf on Twitter right about here, so you can see us live tweeting The Flash every week, and you can get updates on when we have new videos.
Yeah, and be sure to subscribe right here. So subscribe, check out the upcoming videos, because also you need to check out our weekly Fan vs. Fan for The Flash.
Mm-hmm. So I'm Diana McCallum.
I'm Andrew Ivimey.
We're also the creators of Text from Superheroes. If you think we're funny, you can check out that webcomic. And we'll see you around.
Kicked him out.